Did you really think you could stop me, Daniel?
The first swing cracked the door frame. The second swing split it clean open. And when the dust settled, there she was, Vanessa Crowley, HOA president, sledgehammer in both hands, chest heaving, wearing a pastel blazer like she was headed to a book club instead of committing a felony. She stepped through the ruins of my front door with a smile stretched so tight it looked painful. Behind her, 2 security guards held up phones, recording like they were capturing history. They were, just not the history Vanessa had planned. Because sitting at my kitchen table, hands wrapped around a coffee mug, completely unbothered, was Chief Alan Roth, former State Police Internal Affairs, 30 years behind a badge. He looked up at Vanessa the way a chess player looks at someone who just knocked over the board. "Good morning, Miss Crowley," he said calmly. "Please continue. This footage is excellent." The sledgehammer hit the floor. But to understand how a suburban HOA president ended up committing a felony with a power tool at 7 in the morning, you need to go back 6 months. My name is Daniel Mercer, 46 years old, former Army combat engineer. I left the service after an IED in Kandahar introduced me to a titanium rod in my left knee that I never asked for. No dramatic medals, no Hollywood ending. Just bad timing on a road that should never have been driven. When my grandfather passed last winter, he left me everything he had. 3 acres of lakeside land at Pinewater Lake, a log cabin built in the 1940s that still smelled like his pipe tobacco and motor oil, and a dock stretching out into the water like a patient finger, the same dock where he taught me that silence was sometimes more powerful than words. That dock had survived 80 winters. It outlasted floods, storms, and more drama than most people see in a lifetime. It was already standing before most of the people in this story were born. Unfortunately, the cabin sat right next to Lakeshore Ridge Estates, 200 identical beige houses with matching mailboxes and vinyl siding, the kind of neighborhood where rustic meant a decorative canoe bolted to a garage wall. That's where Vanessa Crowley lived, HOA president for 7 straight years. Helmet-stiff hair, pastel power suits in every weather, a pearl-white SUV with vanity plates that read Bossman. Her perfume arrived before she did. Her ambition arrived before that. We met at my grandfather's funeral reception. While everyone else was sharing memories over bad coffee and deli sandwiches, Vanessa cornered me near the deviled eggs and pulled out an HOA membership form at my grandfather's wake. "Monthly dues are only $500, she said, already clicking her pen. "Think of the property values." I told her politely the cabin had never been part of the HOA and never would be. Her smile didn't move, but her eyes did. "We'll see about that," she said. Then she glanced at my cane. "You military types are always so difficult." That should have been my warning. 3 weeks later, a certified letter arrived claiming my dock encroached on HOA-controlled lake access. Removal demanded within 30 days or face aggressive legal remedies. What Vanessa didn't know was that Army engineers are trained to document everything. I spent 2 days in the county courthouse basement, digging through yellow deeds and brittle surveys until I found exactly what I needed. My grandfather's original property deed, filed in 1944, permanent lake access rights clearly listed. The dock named as a fixed landmark, it predated the HOA by decades. I mailed Vanessa copies, highlighted in yellow, with a polite cover letter. She didn't respond in writing. She showed up, 7 in the morning, heels sinking into the gravel with every step, eyes hard. "I have forced 4 families off this lake," she said, voice low. "You will be number 5. I wrote that down the moment she left. The next escalation came on a Saturday. I woke to a chainsaw at 6 in the morning, which in rural America is a declaration of war. I stepped outside to find an HOA crew installing a chain-link fence across my driveway, not repairing anything, blocking my only way in and out. Vanessa stood nearby in a bubblegum pink suit, clipboard pressed to her chest like scripture. "We're reclaiming HOA common land," she announced. "Our updated survey shows your driveway sits on community property." The chainsaw was already cutting into my grandfather's oak tree, the one he planted in 1956, the one my father carved his initials into as a kid, the one I added mine to decades later. I pulled out my phone and started recording. "Gentlemen," I said calmly to the crew, "before you continue, can I see your contractor licenses?" The chainsaw stopped immediately. The operator stared at his boots. "We're volunteers." "Volunteers operating commercial equipment without permits," I replied. "And are you aware that tree is a registered heritage oak? 41-inch diameter, state fine is $100 per inch. You're looking at over $4,000 in penalties." I called the Environmental Protection Office on speaker. The woman who answered recognized the tree immediately. "The Mercer oak? We'll be there in 10 minutes. The crew scattered. One man left his post hole digger standing upright in the dirt. Vanessa stood frozen, clipboard trembling. "This isn't over," she said. She was right, but she had no idea what she had just started. Back in the courthouse basement, I requested Vanessa's updated survey. It had been filed exactly 24 hours before the fence crew showed up. The surveyor's signature looked wrong, shaky, inconsistent with previous filings. I started cross-referencing. That's when the pattern appeared. 4 other families, same sequence every time, sudden survey change, aggressive fines, legal threats, mounting pressure, forced sale well below market value. Every single property ended up purchased by the same entity. Crowley Holdings, LLC. Vanessa wasn't enforcing community standards. She was running a land grab. I built a spreadsheet that night. Dates, fines, legal actions, sale prices. The numbers made my stomach turn. One family had been pushed out in under 4 months. Their son had been accepted to Stanford on a full scholarship. The forced relocation made him give it up. That detail stayed with me longer than any dollar amount. Word spread quietly through the community. People started texting, sharing screenshots, forwarding violation letters they had never shown anyone. Within 48 hours, we had a group chat with 30 people. Stories poured in, fines for grass a 1/4 inch too tall, boats angled incorrectly at docks, flags not adequately illuminated. I had served under that flag, buried friends beneath it, and now I was being fined over landscape lighting. That's when Eleanor Henson found me, former HOA board member, gray sweater, librarian glasses, but eyes sharp as a prosecutor. She slid a thick folder across a diner table. 5 years of records, she whispered. Vanessa has been siphoning HOA funds, using the foreclosures to flip properties through her LLC. Bank transfers, altered meeting minutes, forged votes, it's all here. The total came to over $1 million, stolen directly from the community she claimed to protect. Anyone who had questioned it ended up fined, harassed, or forced out. One couple's workshop had burned down 2 weeks after they requested a financial audit. Official cause, electrical fault, nobody believed it. I called a number I had saved for years without expecting to use it. Chief Alan Roth, State Police Internal Affairs, retired, but not inactive. He arrived 2 days later and spent 3 hours reading everything spread across my kitchen table. When he finally leaned back, he said 4 words. "She's organized and sloppy. We made a plan. Go quiet. Let her think she was winning. Criminals always overreach when they feel safe." Vanessa escalated exactly on schedule. Fake neighborhood posts appeared warning about a dangerous, unstable veteran threatening community safety. My name, my face, my medical history, leaked selectively and illegally, twisted into something that looked like a threat assessment. One morning my boat wouldn't start. Sugar in the fuel tank. Distributor cap removed. Trail cameras I had installed caught HOA security guards on my property at 2 in the morning pouring diesel fuel mixed with herbicide around my apple tree, a tree older than the town itself. I filed the footage with state police, not the local sheriff. Roth had warned me about the local sheriff. Then I found something I never expected. Deep in my grandfather's filing cabinet, the drawer that only opened if you kicked it exactly right, Between his military discharge papers and faded family photographs was a manila envelope marked Original Deeds. Inside was a survey map dated 1921. I read the clause 3 times before it fully landed. My great-grandfather had sold the land that eventually became Lakeshore Ridge Estates with one condition attached. If any portion of that property was ever used in hostile action against the Mercer family or their direct descendants, ownership of the entire parcel would revert immediately back to the Mercer estate. I called Aaron, a property lawyer, at 10 at night. He was at my door in 20 minutes. He stared at the document for a long time without speaking. Then he said quietly, "Daniel, this is a nuclear option." It was real. Filed in 1921, never superseded, legally enforceable. The entire Lakeshore Ridge development, every house, every common area, every inch of HOA-controlled land, could revert to me with a single filing. Roth read it the next morning and just whistled softly. "Good backup plan," he said. "Let's hope we don't need it." Sunday before dawn, they started arriving, cars lining the road in the dark, folding chairs appearing on my lawn, neighbors carrying coffee thermoses and phone tripods, 200 people, silent, waiting. Families Vanessa had fined into submission, people she had threatened into silence, communities she thought she had permanently broken. A retired IT technician set up a live stream from inside my living room. "We're broadcasting everywhere," he said. "She cannot shut this down." At 6 in the morning, Vanessa's white SUV rolled up the driveway leading a convoy. She stepped out like she owned the sunrise, waved papers, shouted orders, raised the sledgehammer. She had no idea 200 people were watching from just beyond the tree line. She had no idea the live stream was already past 10,000 viewers. She had no idea Chief Roth was sitting at my kitchen table with his badge catching the morning light. First swing, the door frame cracked. Second swing, it split open. Third swing. She stepped through and saw the badge. What happened next took less than 4 minutes. Roth identified himself. Vanessa's security guard saw the live stream viewer count and walked back to their vehicle without a word. A federal agent stepped out of an unmarked car at the edge of the crowd. The mayor had resigned that morning. The sheriff was already in custody. Vanessa tried to run, heels and loose gravel. She made it 3 steps. As agents helped her to her feet, I walked to the doorway holding the 1921 deed sealed in a protective sleeve. "She's right about one thing," I said to the cameras. "This land does belong to someone." I held up the document. As of 6 this morning, when Miss Crowley broke down my door, the hostile action clause activated. The entire Lakeshore Ridge property has reverted to the Mercer estate. The silence was absolute. Then I looked directly at the crowd of homeowners staring back at me in shock. "Relax," I said. "I am not her." I let that land for a moment. Effective immediately, the HOA is dissolved. No more fees, no more fines, no more rulers measuring your grass. Every homeowner receives a full deed to their property, free and clear. The only condition is a signed agreement that no HOA will ever be formed on this land again. The sound that came out of that crowd was something I will never forget. Not cheering exactly, something rawer than that. 200 people exhaling at the same time after years of holding their breath. 6 months later, I stood on my grandfather's dock watching kids jump into Pinewater Lake, their laughter echoing across water that used to be guarded by clipboards and threats. Vanessa received 12 years, federal, no parole. The family she had forced out came back. Their homes returned to them at the price they had been stolen for. The oak tree she tried to cut down still stood, stronger than ever, and my grandfather's cabin still smelled like pipe tobacco and quiet resilience. He hadn't just left me land. He left me roots deep enough that nothing Vanessa Crowley had could pull them out. Some people spend their lives trying to own things. My grandfather understood something Vanessa never did. The things worth having, you don't own them, you protect them. If this story hit you somewhere real, hit subscribe. Drop a flag in the comments if you think Vanessa got exactly what she deserved. And if you know someone dealing with an HOA nightmare right now, share this with them. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let people know they are not alone.